We are going to talk on Judges 3. We were doing a Bible study and we got some interesting things out of this chapter. It was amazing, right? We're just going to read out the part that we highlighted and the revelation that we got from this chapter. Now, these are the nations which the Lord left that he might test Israel by them. That is, all who had not known any of the wars in Canaan. This was only so that the generation of the children of Israel might be taught to know war, at least those who had not formerly known it. Do you want to explain the content of this? Context.
The context. Israel had just taken over their promised land. That was just after Moses had died, and now Joshua had came over to go and take over the rest of the territory across the Jordan. So the people of Israel had just started to take over all the different lands. And by the time that they were finished, the people had actually left over some of the people who were originally there in the promised land. So Canaanites, etc., were still living in the countries with the Israelites. But the problem was that God told them specifically to destroy every single person without any mercy inside of the places that they're going to be living in. And that's because God wanted to
not having it. All of you guys must die.
And that's because God said that if you let them live, that there'll be a thorn in your side, that there'll be a snare later down, and that they'll cause you to sin and follow false gods.
Yeah. They lost their ways. They kept sinning against God because they had them, you know, the Canaanites and all of the other nations living with them.
And the
Times, all the Ains. So basically what God did was he purposely left certain nations to make them realize that they still need him, basically. Like, so because the Israelites before, they were never able, they couldn't win any wars without God. So he purposely left those nations for them to experience war, for them to know that it was me. You can only win this through me. And then later on, you know, like the part that you highlighted, what does it talk about?
That God would test Israel by these different people, as you were saying, that they would know war.
Whilst I was reading this, what I found interested, it just made me remember like everything that, for example, like what I went through. Sometimes you're going through something, right? And then you're saying, oh, why is this happening? Da, 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 da. But then sometimes it's God that's testing you because he wants you to look to him. And example, me, as some of you may know, like my previous relationship, I had to go through that in order for me to turn to God, because God was trying to get my attention. And if that didn't happen, then maybe I wouldn't have. I'm sure I wouldn't have, actually. Yeah.
What I find interesting about that is it's the same thing for us, right? We live in a fallen world, and if our bellies get too full, if we think that life is too good, then we'll end up abandoning God. We'll think that, oh, it's because of our strength, etc., that we are here right now. But then, just like what God said in Judges chapter 3, which says that so that the children of Israel may know war, it's the same thing for us right now. We have to go on no war, spiritual warfare, in order to understand that we have to really and truly rely on God and not on our own strength. Because on our own strength, just like the Israelites, they could win no battle if God wasn't with them. And there's multiple examples of that throughout the Bible as well.
Sometimes it's not even just spiritual warfare. Sometimes it's physical, but it's just like for you to realize that you actually need God. And an example that I want to give is like personally in my life, as some of you may know through my testimony, like the previous relationship that I was in, that was a test. Even whilst I was in it, I was like, oh, why God? Da, 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 da. But I had to go through that because God was trying to get my attention. He wanted me to look towards him. And if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have. As you know, as horrible as it may be, when you're going through something, like, don't be quick to feel like God has abandoned you or forgotten about you. Maybe what you're going through is because he's trying to get your attention, because he wants you to focus on him. He wants you to fully commit yourself And sometimes you might say like, oh, I'm a Christian, I already know God. But are you fully committed? Like, are you fully, there's Christians and there's Christians, lukewarm.
Yeah, the ones that are saying that they're Christians and the
Yeah.
ones that are after God's heart.
So are you really after God's heart? And remember that God is a jealous God. And sometimes when this we go through certain things, it's like we're very quick as well to say, oh, it's the enemy. He's, is the enemy. He's trying to do this. And no, maybe God is trying to test you because he's allowing that to happen so that you can look to him.